This video is about metric conversions, and though it's something that you've been learning since you were younger, a lot of students still struggle with it and might be explained differently by me, and maybe it'll finally click, right? So by the end of the video, you should be able to convert between units of measurement. The system of measurement that we use in science is, and in most countries, is a metric system, and the base units of measurement are found on the reference table D. Now there's other measurements, but these are the ones that we use in chemistry. So you see meters and what their name is and their symbol and their quantity, which is length, grams, pascals, Kelvin, and so on. The ones we're focusing in the unit, and really particular, is meters, so we can find the length, width, and height and volume of something. The grams, so we can find our mass, and the liters to find a volume in another way, maybe by volume displacement. The other units will come up in other topics throughout the year. In fact, our next topic will deal with pascals and joules, and we'll continue to add on the units. But they're all use the same prefixes. So the prefix is used to modify the base unit of measurement, and they're found on table C. So these are both on the front of your reference table. The factors are equal to the number of base units. In other words, if you're talking about a kilogram, it's 10 to the third grams. So if it's kiloliters, then it's 10 to the third or 1,000 liters. If you're saying kilo meters, right, that would be 10 to the third meters or 1,000 meters. So it works for every unit on table D. And then the other way you can do it is with the smaller values. Milliliter is 10 to the negative third liters. So if you see milli and it says 10 to the negative third, it's 10 to the third negative third liters, or 0.001. So yeah, you need to know your scientific notation just a little bit. The way I actually look at it is I add in the 10 to the 0 mark if you want to label your table, and say that that's 10 to the 0 is your base unit when you just have 1 meter, 1 liter, 1 gram, or 1 over anything else on table D. And then I say, how many marks would I use if that's 10 to the 0 mark to get to cent deci? Well, I'd move minus 1 place. If I wanted to get to centi, minus 2 places. If I wanted to move to milli, 3 places smaller. Micro is 6 places smaller. Nano is 9 places smaller. And pico is 12 pieces smaller. And the reason we go to pico is we're going to be talking about atoms that are particularly small. And then a kilo would be 3 places larger, right, than our base unit. So I'm looking at that exponent and telling me how many places bigger or smaller that unit is from a base unit of 0. So what I would do is locate the decimal in your number, and if there's no number, no decimal present, it's at the end of that number. And so if it just says 100, it's 100 decimal place. If the unit gets larger on that table, then your number has to equalize by getting smaller. And if a unit gets smaller, the number gets larger. It might be a good idea to save these notes somewhere, and we're going to apply them to a question. So if I was to convert 45.50 milliliters to liters, I would look at units on table C and say milli is minus 3, but liters is normal. It doesn't have a prefix. It's a 0. So my unit is getting larger by 3 because milli was minus 3 and liters was 0. If my unit is getting larger by 3, my number gets smaller by 3. So I locate the decimal and I move it 3 places. 1, 2, and then I put a 0 in there to move it 3 times. And that means my final answer is 0.04550. Keep the O at the end because it was measured. Let's do it together. If I was converting 502.3 kilograms to grams, I would look at my prefixes and say kilo is 10 to the third, and grams doesn't have a prefix, so 0. That means my unit is getting 3 times smaller. My number has to get 3 times larger. So I locate the decimal, and I move it 3 times. So if I move it 3 times larger, it's going to go around the 3, and then I'm going to add 2 zeros to keep going. And so that means my final answer is 502,300 grams. Don't put a decimal because those zeros weren't measured. They were just moved to make it bigger, right? Now I want you to try. Convert 22.3 centimeters to meters. Now that you placed your answer into a puzzle, let's see if you got it right. So centi was to the minus 2, and meters is normal. So we're getting 2 times larger. My number has to get 2 times smaller. And so the difference is 2. I'm moving it 2 times smaller to 0.223. The 0 in the front was optional. Let's see if you can convert between your units of measurement by answering end puzzle questions that convert units of measurement.